Hi, Soul here for my very first YouTube video. I have recorded this about 30 times now because I just can't seem to get it right. So what are we here to talk about, Soul? Well, dear viewer, all one of you, we're here to talk about musical theater. Before we get started, I want to tell you a little bit about my credentials as a theater critic, analyst, whatever you want to call it. And my credentials are big fat goose egg. I have none. I am in the process of getting a degree in English, but I'm just kidding. When I was in high school, I did a lot of theater stuff. Was in the theater production 2 years, would have been 3, but COVID. I got a bit of a late start in theater, but as soon as I joined, I instantly fell in love with it. It's something I love a lot. It's something I care about a lot. And so today I would like to talk to you about the Team StarKid production, The Guy Who Didn't Like Musicals. I like to overanalyze things. I have anxiety. Significant anxiety, might I add. And overanalyzing is kind of my specialty. So for the purpose of this channel, I thought I would start with my specialty. So to start this video, I want to talk about the cast first of all. I want to just say everyone's name, what main characters they play, what characters that have names that they will be, what named character. To start this video, I want to talk about the cast members and their named characters. So I'm going to start with Jamie Lynn Beatty, who plays Charlotte, Nora, Deb, and Colonel Schaefer, who we won't mention, unfortunately. We have Jeff Blim, who plays Mr. Davidson, Sam Sweetley, and John McNamara. We have Corey Doris, who plays Bill, and he only plays one role, but he does a fantastic job at it. We have Mariah Rose Faith, or Mariah Rose Faith Casillas is her full name. She plays Melissa, Zoe, the Greenpeace Girl, and Alice. We have Lauren Lopez, who plays Emma Perkins, and she plays Donna Daggett, who unfortunately, again, will not be mentioned in this video. We have Redacted, who plays Professor Higgins. We aren't going to talk about him for this video because, unfortunately, right now he is facing some pretty severe allegations. If you know, you know. So for the purpose of this video, if he gets it all cleared up, maybe we'll talk about him again in a later video. But for the time being, not going to say his name. I'm going to acknowledge that he is a fantastic actor. He's very good at his job. Just going to put it over there, though. We have John Madison, that is Matteson, not Madison as in the feminine name, who plays Paul Matthews. Finally, last but not least, we have Joey Richter, who plays Ted Spankowski, Dan Reynolds, who is not named, Rod, who is not named, and Homeless Man, who we love the Homeless Man. For this first section, I want to talk about desire and want. Before we get into it, I do need to preface this by saying that I'm going to be talking kind of seriously about the show. It is a comedy, and if you've never seen it, please go watch it. It is free on YouTube, and I would love it to find out that somebody had seen my video and decided to get into Team StarKid. That would be a wonderful feeling for me. So, this show is all about want. It is about desire. It is, what do you want? How far are you willing to go to get what you want? Is there someone who is willing to go further for what they want? Paul, our titular character, is, for all intents and purposes, a boring dude. He's just a guy. He doesn't want much in the beginning. At least he doesn't say he does. In a song called What Do You Want, Paul? His answer is, I don't know. He's boring. Then we have Bill, who wants a relationship with his daughter. Charlotte, who wants her relationship with her husband to improve. Ted, who doesn't seem to want much of anything. He seems content in life. Mr. Davidson, our singer of What Do You Want, Paul? He wants his wife to choke him while he jerks off. Ew. Emma, later introduced, also doesn't seem to want very much. She wants to open a pot farm. She wants to make her sister proud of her. Her sister's dead, by the way. Love the dead sisters. We love Jane. Stan Jane. We kind of get to learn more about her in later shows, but Stan Jane. So the whole show is about want, like I said. Paul doesn't want anything. He's our main protagonist. So if the show is about want, then why is Paul, the guy who doesn't want anything, the main protagonist? Because Paul does want something. This show is Paul learning what he wants. He wants to be with Emma. He wants to survive. He wants to live in Hatchetfield. He wants a caramel frap, even though he keeps ordering black coffee. That's a fan theory, by the way. It's pretty good. It's a pretty cute fan theory that Paul only orders black coffee because it's easier for Emma to make. I love that. I love it so much. So Paul starts to learn what he wants as the show goes on, and the more time he spends with the people around him. He spends more time with Emma. He spends more time with Bill, Ted, and Charlotte, his coworkers. He spends time with Professor Higgins, the most delightful character on the stage. Delightful. Not my favorite, but delightful. He starts spending more time with the people around him and starts to realize what he really wants. He wants to live a life. He doesn't want to be a boring guy working an office job, tirelessly pining after a relationship that has no reciprocation. He wants to be happy. And in the end, he is happy. But it's not him. The Hive is willing to go farther to get what they want than Paul was. Sadly, they were willing to take the right steps. And in the end, Paul didn't get what he wanted. Bill and Ted and Charlotte and Mr. Davidson didn't get what they wanted. Because the simple fact is, they weren't determined enough. But the Hive was. So, why make an entire show about want and desire only to have your end be that everyone dies and the world ends? Well, the simple fact is, we take shit for granted. Humans do not care enough about the things we want. Team StarKid's Hatchetfield trilogy, all of their shows, and their Nightmare Time side shows all have some sort of meaning behind them. Team StarKid is good at one thing above all else, and that is social commentary under the guise of a fun story. They're like an Aesop's Fables for adults. I love their work. So Paul is the average American. He lives his life, he goes to work, he doesn't go after the things he wants, and eventually someone steps in and they get what they want. He's ready to work until he dies, even if it's not what he wants. Just like so many people are willing to do. Now, that being said, after the pandemic, we saw a major shift in working culture in America. People started to focus more on the things that they wanted in life because they'd spent the last 1.5 to 2 years of their life living at home, working from home, working a job that sucks, that they're underappreciated and underpaid for. And to be quite frank, they were sick of it. We're getting the ending that Paul didn't get. That being said, The Guy Who Didn't Like Musicals came out in 2018, I believe, so it came out 2 years before the pandemic came in full swing, if we want to consider it coming in at all in 2020. But Paul doesn't get the ending that we do. The Guy Who Didn't Like Musicals is a fun story about a zombification process via musical theater and a guy who really just doesn't like it. But it's also the story of a man who simply is not willing to go the distance to get the things he wants in life until it's too late. And then he dies. Sorry to start the video out with such a bummer, But now we're going to move on to the foreshadowing portion, which is my personal favorite part of this. I love watching musical theater shows done by Team StarKid and just pinpointing all the little moments where they foreshadow. So The Guy Who Didn't Like Musicals is one of their older shows, so the foreshadowing is definitely a lot less obvious, I would say, for the trained literary eye such as mine. Sometimes things pop, sometimes they don't. Sometimes things seem like a stretch. What do you want? I'm a goddamn English major. Making reaches is kind of what we do. I mean, shit, you've all seen that dumbass meme about the English teachers talking about the curtains are blue. Yeah, dude, that's what we do. It's annoying, but it's what we do. So for the majority of this section, I'm going to be talking about foreshadowing for things within the show, but the last 2 points are going to be foreshadowing for future shows, and if you get what I mean, you will get what I mean. If you have never watched the Hatchetfield trilogy and or the Nightmare Time series, you probably won't understand the last 2 points because I'm going to be incredibly vague in this video for anyone who has seen this show but has not yet seen the other 2 shows. So to start off with, we're going to discuss the dancing, the choreograph in the first number. So the first number is the introduction. In this first number, we have zombie-esque movement from the cast. They're all flinging their arms up like the traditional zombie motions, and the movement starts very jerky and rah, rah, like crazy. But as the song goes on, it starts to get way more fluid and more like a dance number than, well, I would say more like a dance number, but we have Michael Jackson's Thriller, which is the most fire dance number the world has ever seen. Becomes less like Michael Jackson's Thriller and more like ballet, I would say, in terms of comparison of the dance styles. It goes from, I don't remember which hand was Michael Jackson. It goes from jerky and to fluid and smooth. And it's nice. It's a nice transition because it's a it's a gradual shift in fluidity. And it's fun because it kind of echoes the story. It starts off, the Hive story specifically, it starts off very clunky and they're just kind of throwing darts at the dartboard at techniques and methodology of getting people to come into the Hive. It's having this guy sitting in his office singing songs to everyone and hoping to God that they won't run away like Paul. And then it's making them drink blue shit in a coffee pot. And then it's, we're just gonna fucking kill you and make you join us now. It goes from very, well, we really hope you don't leave, to streamlined. I'm not going to make any comparisons for this because I don't want to. No metaphors now. We also get to see in the choreo that Emma specifically gets a big height differential during her solo. She stands above all of the zombies around her. Emma plays the biggest role in Paul's character development. She's the thing that makes him want to be a more involved person in his life. She's the thing that pushes him to be better to his friends, that pushes him to live, to survive. Because honestly, if it wasn't for Emma, Paul probably would have just let himself die at some point. He doesn't seem all that interested in survival, except for the fact that there's a chance with Emma. Who knows? We're going to move on to the singing itself. So Mr. Davidson sings the first solo in the number. He's also the first character to get a solo song where he is the only one singing. Then the next solos are Charlotte, at least the main character solos. The first main character to have a solo is Charlotte. Charlotte is the first main character to die. Bill gets the next main character solo. He's the second one to die. Pretty sure it goes on from there. Except for Paul, who doesn't get a solo. He doesn't sing until nearly the very end. The line, he's destined to go viral, Paul brings the Hive to Clivesdale. He truly was destined to go viral. So, moving on, we're going to talk about some of the later stuff. Less singing, more, etc. When we meet the Greenpeace girl, there are people walking left and right in front of her, and then she focuses all of her energy. I just touched my microphone. She focuses all of her energy onto Paul. Paul, the main character. You could say that maybe it's just because he's our main character and we needed to do more characterization and show what a dickhead he is to everyone around him. Or you could do what I do as the English major and say no, because it represents how later in the show the Hive is so honed in on Paul as being the most important person to join because he's the only one that their tactics don't work on. I mean, everybody else, it's their first attempt. Everyone else, their first attempt typically works. Bill, Ted, Charlotte ran away when they saw people coming out of Mr. Davidson's office singing, so they didn't technically confront the Hive. Show me your hands. It was technically all of them. But every single time a character has been directly approached as an individual, they have fallen to the Hive. Charlotte dies to Sam's hands. She was alone with Sam. Bill dies to Alice's hands. Now, this is because Paul gave her a damn gun, but still, he was ready to shoot himself after hearing his daughter sing about how sad she is and sing about how dead she is. So pretty much everybody else falls under the influence of the Hive somehow. Paul is the only one who doesn't succumb to the influence of the Hive. So they are so focused on him. It is not even funny because Greenpeace girl is so I already made the connection. We're going to move on. Zoe, Emma's coworker, gets offered a ride from Emma and says, "In your shitty car, I'd rather not crash and die, thank you." Zoe later dies in a helicopter crash. Helicopter? She later dies in a helicopter crash. If I can't stop mispronouncing words, I'm going to scream. Zoe foreshadows her own eventual on-screen death. Technically, it's Hive Zoe's death, but nonetheless, she foreshadows the crash. All of the side characters appear on stage for the first time in the order that they appear dead on screen. We've got Mr. Davidson appears first, then Nora and Zoe, then Sam, then Alice and Deb. This is the order in which they appear on screen for the first time. On stage. This is the order in which they appear on stage for the first time, and it is also the order in which we see them as members of the Hive. Just kind of a cool thing. I want to say this one's a stretch, but I also know that Team StarKid tends to be very intentional with the way that they do things and the choices they make, so, just fun. The meteor falls and Higgins is like, "The stage is set." Ew. I'm so sorry. Basically, the meteor falls and Higgins is like, "I've been waiting in the wings. The stage is set. It's showtime." And it's just a fun little thing. Greenpeace girl once again gives us some top tier foreshadowing. She asks Paul, "Do you want to save the planet?" as the Hive. Now, Professor Higgins kind of treats the Hive like the second coming of Christ later on in the show. He talks about how they're going to save humanity, save planet Earth. So Ted talking about taking out the head after Bill threatens to kick his head that's just like a baseball bat to the temple of foreshadowing. Duh. Thank you for giving us the climactic point of the show 15 minutes too early, Ted. Okay, so the next 2 points are more about foreshadowing to the future shows, or I guess technically it's 3 points. Okay, so first I want to talk about the lighting in the song Not Your Seed. It's green, and Alice is pissed. If you know, you know. Really cool instance of foreshadowing for a future show. Could be a stretch. I don't care. I think it's cool. if it's not on purpose, it's a sick-ass coincidence. Same thing goes for when Professor Hitchens mentions the nuclear holocaust when he's ranting to Ted and Emma about how the hive could save the earth. Again, if you know, you know. Finally, the way that Hitchens treats the hive like a cult is... I really don't know what else to say here. I cannot get more specific than this without ruining future videos. I mean, if you know, you know, I guess. I don't know what to tell you. He mentions it being... He treats it like a cult. What else in the Hatchetfield series is cult-like? Is literally a cult. There are multiple other cults in the Hatchetfield series. If you don't get it, use your brain. And if you don't get it because you haven't seen the show, watch the shows. They're called The Guy Who Didn't Like Musicals, Black Friday. You can skip over the Nightmare Time series and watch it later if you really don't want to watch it right this second, because each one's like an hour long. But the third show in the Hatchetfield trilogy is called Nerdy Prudes Must Die. You watch it in that order. It's good. All three of them are really casting. Some people think that Black Friday is worse. I just think it's different. I think it was a necessary middle ground between funny and serious, very serious, way funny, with a few serious moments. It's good. Black Friday was good. It's necessary. And I'm gonna get off that high horse until I make the video about Black... I'm gonna get off that high horse until I make the video about Black Friday. Alright, we're on to the costume design portion. Again, this is me overanalyzing. A lot of this is probably going to seem like a bit of a stretch to some people. To some people, you might understand and think that I'm absolutely right. Whatever your opinion is, cool. I'm gonna get some cordless headphones because this bitch is blocking every movement I make with these hands. We're gonna move on to costume design. I'm gonna move through just some of the characters. I'm not gonna go through every single last one of them. That would be boring. We're gonna talk about Paul first. Paul is boring. He wears a plain suit and a matching tie. He wears a two-piece suit. He wears a little jacket, his little pants, and his matching little tie with a white shirt underneath it. He's boring. But when he becomes not boring, he takes the jacket off. And now he's just wearing a white shirt, some pants. And then later, I'm pretty sure he ends up rolling up his sleeves. All of this character change is indicative that Paul is having major life realignment. He is no longer the boring piece of shit he once was. Now he's interesting and people like him and want to be around him. It's great. It's great. We're going to move on to Emma, who is the only one of her coworkers who does not wear a hat to work. This is a signal that something about her is different. She's just a barista, though. She just wears a barista uniform. You know, she takes off the apron at the exact moment that the mask sort of falls from the hive and we see that they're evil. It's just kind of cool. Just kind of a cool thing I noticed. Ted is a whore. That's why his sleeves are rolled up. He does that guy thing where they roll up their sleeves to show off their little forearms. I like it. I like it a lot. Also, he wears neutral tones to sort of show that he is similar to Paul in the sense that he doesn't want anything, but he's not like Paul because he doesn't wear the jacket, which means he's not as closed off as Paul. He's more open. He's just kind of a guy who's enjoying life versus Paul, who is a guy just living life. Bill dresses like a mismatched youth pastor. Obviously, his life is not together, considering his tie and his fucking plaid short sleeve button up are clashing so poorly. What else is there to say? His life is falling apart. He's divorced. He's got a daughter who doesn't seem to like him very much. There you go. This costume sort of tells us that he's not all there. He's not all together. Charlotte dresses like the stereotype of women who live alone with cats. She's sad and lonely. She kind of fits the stereotype of the way she's dressed. For reference, There's nothing wrong with being a single woman who lives alone with cats. That's most likely what I will be, except not a woman, just a person. Nothing wrong with being a single individual who lives with a bunch of cats. Gotta put that one out there. I'm not saying that their stereotype is true. I'm just saying that she sort of fits the bill for the stereotype. She's a lonely, sad woman who just wants a better relationship than the one she's in. Or the one she's in to be better. We have Mr. Davidson, who wears a plain suit, sort of indicating that he is the boss. He's kind of a boring guy, but then he's got these interesting little suspenders and tie that match, which sort of is like, he has a secret. I just bumped the mic again. That's 3 times that I'm aware of so far. I will probably hear more when I watch this footage. Alice wears a pink sweater. Innocence. Do not ask me if that's why they started making baby girls wear pink. I cannot give you the answer to that question. I do not know. But pink tends to represent innocence. In the story Young, Good, and Brown, the wife wears a pink ribbon on her hat, and that's one of the things we talked about in class when I had that class was pink represents innocence. And somebody asked the question about the girls versus boys as babies thing, and nobody had an answer. We're going to move on from that and talk about Alice's skirt, which makes me think about the movie Heathers. It's short, it's plaid. It kind of shows the conflict in her personality. The skirt says, I want to be a normal teen. Well, the sweater says, I want to be my dad's little girl forever. The question that I have now is, does she want to be her dad's little girl, or is she pretending to be her dad's little girl to make her sad, divorced dad happy? And then finally we have John McNamara, who I have yet to mention in this video. He's an army guy. He dresses like one. Not much more to say there. There's not a whole lot of character analysis there. He's just an army guy who dresses like an army guy. That's it for character description, guys. We have one more section to get through, and then you can turn this fucking video off. My tea is getting cold, probably because it's been sitting there for over 30 minutes. We're on to the last bit, which I would like to call the honorable mentions. This is just sort of characters, clips, little things I want to highlight. I'm going to start by acknowledging Hot Chocolate Guy.
She wouldn't sing for him. And I still haven't gotten my hot chocolate.
Oh, sorry, I'll get right on that.
I have very low blood sugar.
Hot Chocolate Guy is just a delight. I'm going to go through some quotes after I mention something that is very important to me. Ted, I said we'd get back to him. Ted is my favorite character. Professor Higgins is a delight. He is a wonderful character. But Ted is my favorite. Do you remember how I said that Paul doesn't have a fight or flight response? He has a freeze response. Well, Ted has a flight response. So in a lot of scenes where Ted is being a dick, like when he runs away, when Emma and Paul are being dragged away by the hive, I like to think of that as more that they just have different fight or flight responses. Obviously, Paul's is freeze, Emma's is fight, and Ted's is flight. I just like to think that they have 3 different responses to danger. When it comes to Ted in general, he is the only character who genuinely listens and supports everybody else at all times. The only time he gets ornery is when he's fearing for his life and a little tipsy at Professor Higgins' house. That's the only time he actually gets, like, feisty with them, other than, like, general teasing and picking and prodding like most people do with the people they consider their friends, right? I mean, I pick on my friends all the time. Out of love, of course. But nonetheless. But in the scene where in the scene where Bill and Charlotte and Paul are all sort of off in their own worlds, with Bill worrying about his daughter and the meteor hitting Mamma Mia, and Charlotte's worried about her cheating husband, and Paul's worried about being a part of what he thinks is a flash mob, Ted is listening to everyone. He's paying attention to what they're saying. He cares. And then in the scene where Emma is trying to make Charlotte feel better, Ted gives her a big thumbs up, saying, "Good job. You made her feel better." I mean, Ted is the best boy. Now, yes, him leaving Paul and Emma to die was pretty shitty, and him lying to the army and saying that he was the only one who was alive was kind of shitty, but at that point, we already knew how Ted sort of viewed the situation. He basically said, like, if you're not in my line of sight and alive, I'm assuming you're dead. Which, fair enough. Let's be so fucking real here. Everybody they've met so far has died, has become a member of the Hive. It's not like his fears are totally unfounded. Bill and Paul went to the school together, and only Paul came back after being saved by the army. So it's not an unfair thing to think that they would both be dead. Now we're going to move on to some more quotes, like I was talking about. Just a few of them. And then, of course, I have to mention Jeff Blum's facial expressions. He is the king of looking like a fucking psychopath. So here are some of the best quotes in the show, in my opinion.
Lights down! Oh my god.
Okay. 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 Okay.
I want you to choke me while I jerk off.
Hello? Hello? Please, God, I just want a black coffee.
Black coffee, I'm your coffee guy.
No! Who is it?
Professor Hitchens!
Don't lie to me, whoever you are. I'm Professor Hitchens.
What?
I want you all to sing 16 bars right now.
No, Professor, we're not aliens.
Sing the beginning of Moana.
What?
I said sing, goddammit.
Moana, make way, make way. Consider the coconut, consider its tree. John dances while we and no one leaves. I didn't like that movie.
The circle of life.
Please, God, if you save me right now, I promise I'm gonna be a better person, please. It's okay, guys, I'm here. Oh! Shh, we gotta get out of here while they're distracted.
Oh my god, should I take this chair?
Yes, I'll get the piano.
All right, well, that was The Guy Who Didn't Like Musicals, my sort of analysis of it. Unfortunately, this one was very clumsy just because it was their earliest show in the Hatchetfield trilogy. There wasn't as much to analyze in this show as there is in their more recent show, Nerdy Prudes Must Die. I want to apologize in advance. My Nerdy Prudes Must Die video is probably going to be very long. But before we get to that, I plan on going through Black Friday and the entire Nightmare Time series. I'll probably condense the Nightmare Time series down into one video per Nightmare Time and just kind of do sections on the Nightmare Time episodes in the videos. I look forward to it. If you enjoyed this video, I'm so glad you sat through and watched it. If you didn't enjoy it, suck an egg, I guess. Go watch something else. But again, if you did enjoy this video, please leave me a comment about anything that I can improve on. If there's anything that you would like to see outside of Team StarKid, let me know. I'll be starting a list soon of musicals that I want to do analysis on. At some point, I want to start a book club. We'll talk about that more once I'm closer to getting that started. I do plan on doing some more fun, lighthearted things on the channel, like some art videos, which... Look at him. I'm not an artist. Yeah, but I do plan on doing some more lighthearted things that aren't just boring analysis videos that take too much time to make and listen to. But if there is anything specific you would like to see me do, let me know in the comments. Maybe I'll give it a shot. As long as it doesn't cost money or require travel. We'll see. Thank you all so much for watching, and I look forward to making the next video. Bye.